of the things you really want to have in WolfQuest Anniversary Edition are accurate and immersive seasonal changes. So while Tommi's been working on the den quest and Mikko's been working on refinements to animal movement and multiplayer, and Andrei's been fixing some bugs and working on a variety of things, I've been looking into seasonal changes for Slough Creek. Now, a few months ago, Andrei set up a cool system to change from fall to winter season in Amethyst Mountain. And so now I'm kind of like a kid in a candy shop, thinking up ways to take advantage of the system for seasonal changes in Slough Creek. We already have deep winter set up. I've showed that in previous dev blogs. But spring is really more than a single season in terms of changes to the environment. So first in April, much of the snow has melted at that point, but there's still quite a bit of snow remaining on the colder north-facing slopes. And so I've been able to replicate that, as you can see here with the microsplat snow shader that we use by adjusting which vector, which angles the snow is allowed to accumulate on. That only matches the reality of how things look on the ground in April, but it's also relevant to the gameplay, since April is when wolves are looking for a den, and they are definitely looking for the sunny, south-facing slopes. So snow on the ground will often mean that's not a great area to look for a den, and maybe look around to the sunny or south-facing slopes. So that's April. Then a month later, the snow's gone from the valley and these lower mountain ranges, but where did it go? Well, it melted. And where did it go when it melts? It goes down into the rivers, and sometimes it's more water than those can take, so it floods. And so often in Slough Creek, the meadows flood. And while looking for some visual reference for this, I came across some amazing photos taken by two naturalists, Jenny Golding and George Buman, which they posted on their website, A Yellowstone Life. This is a great website. I encourage you to check it out. All sorts of really cool information and tips and pictures and stories about Yellowstone wildlife. They also have a great YouTube channel that has a lot of great stuff too. Check that out. Anyway, these photos are spectacular, aren't they? So I decided to try something similar in our game map. So here's First Meadow in the new Slough Creek map. If you've played the old game, this is very familiar to you. So I put a white plane, not airplane, just flat plane, in the scene and aligned it with the river, and that has a slight downward angle, of course, because water flows downhill. And then I raised it up to a little bit to flood level. So you can see that already there are parts of the terrain that are low enough to get flooded at this flood level of the river. But it doesn't really match the photos, and that's because we're using real topographic data, but it's at a lower resolution. It's not precise to the meter. And so these fluctuations, these differences in the elevation of the meadow are very small, a meter, maybe two. So I need to do this manually. So I've aligned this using these photos as reference. I can go in and basically carve out these depressions where the flood waters go when it's high water in late May. And so that takes some time, but it's kind of fun to do too, and see how these things shape up. Now these are all, you can kind of see their oxbow shape. Oxbows are common in waterways. They're former channels of the river that sedimentation builds up, and so they get cut off and isolated from the actual river flow. But there's still these depressions in the ground that are the first to fill up when it floods. Okay, so skipping ahead, that's all done now, at least roughed in. Still need some smoothing and refinement, but we can move on to the next step, which is the water itself. So switching back, here's the Slough Creek river mesh, and I'm going to raise it up a little bit to flood level. Now, of course, it's not nearly wide enough, so got to make it much, much wider, hundreds and hundreds of meters wide. Turns out that the mesh is way too detailed for that to work with all these different polygons overlapping, so I'm going to simplify that and get our basic flooded meadow water mesh. So this still needs a lot of polish. I'll do a little bit of smoothing now, but it'll need more later. But, you get the general idea here. This is coming along. Of course, if you play the old game, I know what you're thinking. OMG, I have to carry my pups across these huge flooded areas. Well, actually, we're changing some things in the new Slough Creek map. And one of them is pups will have some swimming skills. They may not be able to swim very well, but they can stay alive in the water, at least in calm conditions and for a while. So water will still be a hazard, but it won't be instant death like it was in the old game. Don't believe me? Well, take a look.